So who is it, or what happened in that first century when those afflicted believers in Thessalonica were relieved of their tribulation, and those afflicting them were then afflicted? If that didn't happen, what did happen? We all know that Israel was persecuting the saints, and they were told that the great tribulation would come upon them. Jesus said all the righteous blood shed on earth would be avenged at his judgment of Israel. Matthew 23. The Jews were persecuting the Thessalonians there in that first century. Paul said that the Jewish persecutors were to be judged at Christ's coming. The Jewish persecutors of the Thessalonians, those who shed all the righteous blood on the earth, would be judged at Christ's coming in judgment. Isaiah and Paul in Thessalonians foretold of last days events. Isaiah and Paul in Thessalonians foretold the judgment of Israel in the last days. Isaiah and Paul in Thessalonians foretold the judgment of Israel at the day of the Lord for shedding innocent blood. Isaiah and Paul, citing Isaiah in Thessalonians, said Israel would be cast from the presence of the Lord at the day of the Lord for shedding innocent blood. Only one people had ever dwelt in the presence of the Lord, and that was Old Covenant Israel. Isaiah foretold the casting out of Israel from the presence of the Lord for shedding innocent blood. 2 Thessalonians 1 foretold the casting out of Jewish persecutors of the saints from the presence of the Lord. Jesus said Israel would be judged for killing the saints at his coming. Israel was cast out from the presence of the Lord in that first century at the destruction of Jerusalem in AD 70. Paul said those who do not obey the gospel would be cast out at Christ's coming. Peter said the time has come for the judgment to begin. And if it begins with us first, what shall the end be of those who do not obey the gospel? Peter says that the appointed time for the judgment had arrived. Paul said those not obeying the gospel, the Jewish persecutors of the Thessalonians, would be judged at Christ's coming. Peter said the appointed time had come to judge those who did not obey the gospel. The appointed time had come for the judgment at the parousia of Christ. Peter said the appointed time for judgment of those who had not obeyed the gospel had arrived. He said Christ was ready to judge the living and the dead. The end of all things has drawn near. Was Peter wrong to say that the time had arrived, drawn near, for the appointed time for the judgment? Most Christians today will tell you that Peter was wrong. that the appointed time for judgment had not arrived. So what do you think? I pretty much know what most of you think. Peace, love, justice, understanding, music, and friends.